Hello, everyone, and welcome to a behind the scenes UPY video. I'm joined by fellow judge, Tobias. Hi, good to see you, Toby. I'm
Good to
looking
see you too, Alex.
at you in person. We're just doing this quick, informal recording just to give you some insight into the UPY judging process. Everyone's always keen when they're trying to pick their entries to know something about how we're going to judge UPY. And we always have the attitude with UPY to try to be as open as possible. But the secret I'm going to let you into before we start discussing things is that we really do try and go into UPY with very open minds. So while we're going to talk today about things we like, things we don't like, I think it's still very important to remember that the pictures that have the most chance to have success are the ones that impress us most in the judging room. And right now, we really don't have an idea about what those will be. The first thing I need to cover, though, is just a little bit of admin stuff about a major change that we're making to UPY this year. And it's a change that we're bringing in light of the ability of artificial intelligence, AI, to generate pretty much any image that you can imagine at the touch of a button. And obviously, such images have already sort of been entered into photographic competitions and caused a lot of controversy around the photography world. And it's something that, entrants have asked us, what are we doing to make sure that they won't end up being runners up to a picture that wasn't even taken underwater? Of course, the UPY result rules have always said the picture must be taken underwater. So that does kind of rule out immediately any AI image. But we are going to have some stronger rules around AI as well. The first of those is that we ask every picture that's entered into UPY that you please leave the EXIF data from the camera embedded in the image. What that means is that a judging panel of me, Tobias, and Peter, what we can do is we can, just double check that EXIF data. If we have an image that looks a little bit suspect to us, we can look at that EXIF data and understand how that image was created. And it's generally there just to reassure us that, okay, yeah, that all makes sense. Whereas if the lens or the camera settings are completely weird to how the image looks, that might raise some alarm bells in us. So it's a useful thing for us to have in the judging room should we have an image that raises suspicion. The other thing that we will do this year for UPY is that in the past, we've always reserved the right to call in raw files for any images that we wanted to see them for. But this year, we'll call in raw files for all the shortlisted images. We're not expecting at that stage to have any images that are excluded because of their raw files. UPY has always been quite open in terms of the processing that we allow. But what we want to be sure of is that there's no AI generation of content. So either a completely AI generated image or an image that's had large sections of the images or major components of the image created by AI. And the raw file will allow us to check that. So we're not looking to exclude people with that raw file check. We're looking to just to include all the photographers and exclude anything that hasn't been created photographically. We're still fine with you processing your images, as lots of underwater photographers like. We're okay with you taking an errant diver out of the background or something like that. This is an underwater photography competition, not a journalistic competition. So, feel free to do all the things that you've done in the past, but we will check the raw files. We do have a AI rule in there, which does say that anyone who tries to trick the competition by entering an AI generated image, they will face a lifetime ban. Hopefully, we never have to use this rule. We just keep it there as a deterrent as much as anything. And the reason we have that is that you may feel that, you're making a point, or you're always going to own up to creating an AI image after the effect. But the reason we have that in there is that, for example, in the judging, we often play similar shots off against each other. And say we have two amazing humpback whale shots in the finals, and one of them is created with an AI process, and we decide that's the better shot. The other humpback whale shot would probably not make the top 10 because we wouldn't want so much repetition of subject matter in the top 10 in that category. So you cheating the system doesn't just mean, okay, when I own up, everyone can move up one. It actually also impacts where pictures will finish. So that's why we have this lifetime ban, is because you're not just ruining the competition to make a point over your one image, you're actually ruining the integrity of the competition for all the entrants that year. So yeah, please don't do it. And if you do, you won't be welcome in UPY again. So sorry to start with that boring announcement, but it's a big change for this year. And I wanted to sort of to put that down. You can read more on the UPY website where I've written similar words down, and you'll see how it works this year. But for most photographers, it will make no difference at all. It's just there really to protect your integrity as a photographer, to know that you are competing against other photographers, because the nature of the UPY entry is that we always get images that are hard to believe because they are so amazing. And that's one of the challenges we have as judges. So, Toby, sorry for making you sit there quietly through all of that. I wanted now to kick off and just ask you, last year was the first year that we managed to all meet up face to face for the first time since you've been part of the UPY judging team. There was that small issue of COVID in the previous years. So what was it like coming to England and spending that time doing UPY judging face to face for the first time?
Yeah, quite expected. We had some rain, yeah. So, no, I'm just kidding. It was really good to meet all of you in person to do the judging, because I think that really helps to mingle a little bit, so before the competition starts, really, or before the judging starts, really, to see what we expect, what we want to see, or just to get some news and how everybody's feeling, maybe as well, to just get into this mood of judging, which I really liked as well. And we're not doing it at anybody's home where somebody can be distracted. We're doing it at a secret place, a secret location near London, yeah, where we are judging, where there's a pub nearby, yeah, as well. But no, I really
Very
like the fact that,
importantly, yeah.
yes, very important, yeah. We have to discuss the images in the evening as well, right? No, but what I really liked is that we went through all these almost 6,000 images together, and this is really a point where this competition in my eyes stands out, because we are really looking at all the images that are entered and really carefully selecting these, and this only really works if you're in person together.
Yeah, yes, and I think as well, one of the advantages of having the pub there is actually it helps us all get on the same wavelength. It breaks those barriers down, because
Mm.
judging involves difficult decisions, it involves disagreements, and I think once you've spent that little bit of time together face to face and had a laugh, and it makes it easier to say you're wrong, or you're right, I'm wrong, but however it
Exactly.
goes on that particular day. So yeah, I think that the gathering is really important. It's why, you know, it's people have said in the past, wouldn't it be great if you had a wider geographic range of judges or something for UPY? And that would be great. But I think it's far more important that we have this ability to do face to face judging. All of us looking at the same screen, no decision in UPY is made without you having your chance to have your say about it. Nothing is done by organizers beforehand. All the judges sit there and all have their chance to make their arguments. And some arguments you win, some arguments you lose, but you've always had the chance to make them.
Yes, exactly. I think that's a good point regarding the arguments, that somebody is fighting for a picture, has good arguments or not. And this is what I really liked about the competition, that we were all very good in arguing for our favorites, but also letting the others argue against it, and then accepting the point that the picture for this reason or for that reason is good or not good. Yeah. So I like really this fact that we could just discuss between us and fight for a picture or not and argue. This really helps, I think, at
Mhm.
the end to find the final top 10 for each category.
So I know what all the photographers will be wanting me to ask you, and that's, what are you looking for as a judge when you go into the judging room this year in UPY?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. And usually, I like to not be really prepared for the competition, because I want to be surprised, or getting this surprise factor when I see the images. And I know that an image is hitting you really in the very first seconds you see it the first time, and then afterwards you're analyzing it. But this first wow factor is important, and this is also why I can give the tip to not post any image on social media which you want to enter maybe in this competition. So because we browse social media, of course, daily, I guess, yeah, you too, Facebook and Instagram. And if you post something like this, it won't have that wow factor if you see it before we see it in the final judging when we are in London together. So I would can only say, yeah, do new stuff, do creative stuff. I always like to see if somebody comes up with a total different idea, and that doesn't need to be the, I don't know, humpback whales in Tahiti or something. But they are super beautiful, but we've seen a lot of things. I would
He likes
also,
his humpbacks.
yeah, I mean, they are amazing, yeah.
And we always tease
Um,
him about that.
yeah. Oh, everybody loves whales, of course. Yeah, we
Yeah.
too. But I would say go quite simple and go around your local area where you live and look for wherever is water, maybe. Yeah. And go for a very creative idea or for a standard subject with which has never been shot in a way like this or something. Yeah. Long exposures, short exposures. It can be anything actually. Yeah. It's up to your creativity what you're surprising you us with. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think that UPY has always been about celebrating all styles, all types of underwater photography. It's not simply a big animal competition. It's not simply a who's had the coolest dive this year competition. You know, we award swimming pool shots every year. We, you know, award pictures taken in rivers, in lakes, in the ocean, black water, you know, polar regions, tropical regions. One of the things we actually do try and judge for is to create a really diverse collection. So if you've done something different in underwater photography, it's a great way of getting placed because we're
yeah.
looking to get that diversity into our collection.
And having said that, I would say it does not need to be always super creative. It can also be a very standard shot of a standard a standard
Yeah.
subject like a whale or something, which is absolutely perfect. So we also appreciate. I mean, it's a photo competition, so it's about the best photo. And if you got a standard, oh no, not a standard subject, but a subject which has been maybe seen a lot of times, also in competitions maybe, but it's absolutely perfect, then we will also award this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's yeah, well, there's and I think one thing I would say is that I certainly don't bring my own preferences in photography into the judging room too much. I will there are types of underwater images that, you know, I've said many times, I don't like that style, I don't like that approach for various reasons. But I will still award those types of pictures in UPY because I, as a UPY judge, not as Alex the photographer, I recognize the excellence in them. I recognize the you know how that photographer is excelling in that genre. So you know we do try and park all those preconceptions at the door a little bit. Peter's not here today, but I would say that Peter, as a judge, he's very emotional as a photographer. He judges, I think, a lot more with his heart than perhaps you and I. We judge with a mixture of heart and head, and Peter's a very much of a he judges with his heart. He'll fall in love with the picture, and that's his picture. Um, and you know, but he's very willing to change his mind, though. You know, he's you know, don't you know, he's a very thoughtful judge. He just, you know, for him, it's all about the impact it has on him, the image. He doesn't care what its subject is. He doesn't care about the technique. And it's one of the reasons why I think the UPY collection every year is so memorable because of the fact that you know we do have judges with different tastes. I think if all the judges were very similar, you know, I think you would find that the collection would become quite narrow. And I think one of the reasons it's diverse is because of that, and the fact that we have only three judges. So each judge has a really strong voice in shaping the collection. I think when you have a judging panel of say 7, 8 photographers, I saw a contest recently which had about 15. You know, how when you've got that many, every picture has to be a consensus picture. It has to be a picture that everybody says is okay, but maybe nobody loves. Whereas in UPY, there's a lot of space for pictures that maybe only one of us really loves, but hopefully lots of people who are other you know who enter will all who sorry see the results will also love that too. So,
Yes,
oh, mm,
what I really liked on the competition this year, beginning of this year, when were finally done after the 2 days, and we it was so much work. It was really exhausting, but
yeah,
when we then saw the final, or when I saw the final results on the screens and the top 10 and even the order, it felt so good, because I knew that we all did a very, very good job to place these in a really, really good order, and it felt really good at the end that everything felt like where the picture, um, is where it has to be, which
mm,
I think. And I flew home from London with a really, really good feeling, in the beginning of this year, and I hope to continue this, or we have the same then, but
mm.
I'm sure we will, then next year.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it would be good to pat ourselves on the back and say, "Didn't we do a good job?" But I
Yeah.
actually think a lot of that just comes from that process of giving us
Yeah.
time, and no discussion is off the table. Even at the last minute, you can say, "No, I'm not happy with this one being here. It has to be higher or lower." And if you can convince the other judges, it moves. It's nothing until we sign it all off. Everything's to play for.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. And I really appreciate actually this fact that you can always say something, that you can always openly say, your opinion. And that's very British. Yeah. That's, you all have very good manners. Yeah. That I can express my German opinion.
well, I'm not
You
sure
guys are
about that,
very
but
direct one.
I think the other thing that benefits UPY a lot is the fact that the judging isn't the work of 5 minutes. A lot of contests that you judge as an underwater photographer, people enter the competition, some unknown organizer culls it down to just a few finalists, and then sends you an email saying, here are the top 10, put them in order, and then you email back, and then that's the last involvement you have with it. And I think one of the things that I like about UPY is it's the same few of us who are looking at those pictures again and again. And it means that we have seen the winning pictures maybe 7, 8, 10 times before the end of the contest. And because of that, the sorts of pictures that do well are pictures that don't just have the initial impact to get through the first rounds. They've got that staying power to last when you look at them, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time. And because of that, when you go back and look at those pictures, a year later, they still have that staying power because of the way of judging. I think if you do a judge competition and you judge it on just a single pass or two passes, you tend to pick images with initial impact. Whereas the UPY judging, because the same three of us look at them again and again and again, it's really pictures that have a staying power, that do well. And those are also pictures that live in the public's memory as well, which is why I think so many of the UPY winners down the year have become really iconic underwater images that everyone remembers because of the fact that they've come through that judging process. So I
Absolutely.
guess with that in mind, I'm going to put you on the spot now, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to we can have a look at a few of last year's winners and talk about things we liked about them. So I'll stick you in the hot seat for the first one.
Mhm.
And these are just pages from the yearbook, and this is the winner of the wide angle category by Greg Sherman. What was it about this image that made it a winner for you, Toby?
Yeah, the immediate impact. It's, I mean, I love split shots, of course. Yeah, these are super, super difficult sometimes to take, and this struck me from the beginning because of this nice diagonal of stingrays lying in the
Mm,
sand, and this amazing sky, and very, very nice composition. Very interesting split wave as well, which you usually don't see. So it's a very interesting moment here as well. So no, this is just very, very nicely made, also very nicely edited, and just a very good picture. And I was sure, when I saw it the first time, that it's probably under the top three of this category
mm.
already.
Okay, I'm gonna roll through because I think we should keep this
Yeah.
video relatively short. I'll talk about the second one, which is Andy Smith's picture, which I think he was incredibly unlucky to be a runner up with this picture, because I think
Yeah.
almost any other year, any other picture he was up against, this would be a category winner. It's such an amazing picture, and I'm pleased that Andy went on and won lots of other competitions with this picture after UPY. Although I have to say, Greg didn't enter his picture in any of those, so maybe he was lucky there. But yeah, that's something I would say. Actually, I'm going to get sidetracked straight away by saying one thing that we definitely do as judges in UPY is we look at the other contests that have, announced at a similar time or in the last 6 months or so, because UPY, we want pictures that haven't been seen before. And so, we will look at other results. And if we see pictures that we've seen before, it doesn't mean they can't win something, but they're likely to do less well. And that's why, people like Andy, they start their competition season by entering their shot with us, and then, put it into other competitions afterwards, which maybe the judges aren't such underwater photography geeks as us and aren't checking all the other contests all the time. So I definitely, one tip for success is always enter stuff that we haven't seen before, because it will have that impact and it will do well, as you were saying earlier on. Okay, moving on to the next one. This one's your turn. This is Martin's shot of inside a cave.
Yeah, it's just also a fantastic shot. Also very nice diagonals here in the picture. Very, very nice light coming from the back. And this is what I'm also saying on my workshops, is that the fact that you do have strobes on your camera doesn't mean that you need to use your strobes, which are attached to the camera, and more have external lighting with a really nice atmosphere like your picture. And Martin is really a specialist in this, especially in the caves and of course, and it's in Mexico, and it's just a fantastic shot. Very nice lit light on the diver as well, and with this Markan skull, of course, like lying just in the as the subject of the picture, which really brings the tip of the on the eye into the image.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you say, fantastic use of light. You could
Mm.
almost, there could almost be anything in the frame, and just the quality of the lighting, just marks it out. I love also how the color shift from the warmer colors in the foreground to the
Yeah.
cooler colors in the background with that more distant, backlighting at the back. Right. Next one, it's another one. This one is from Raphael, who was our overall winner in 2022. And we're always really happy when people win UPY and then continue to enter it. Toby, you did that as well, which we appreciated a great deal. And we love that people want to stay involved with the competition, even if they've won the highest award. Nobody yet has won either of our or any of our biggest awards more than once, which always amazes me. And we've not had anyone yet win Underwater Photographer of the Year more than once, and we've not had anyone win British Underwater Photographer of the Year more than once. And obviously, the up and coming awards you're not allowed to win more than once. So far they're all original. So at some point, someone's going to double up on them. But we're always very happy when people do enter, and this is just a fantastic subject matter with this group of pilot whales, but just a great pose, both of the whole pod, but also that male coming through the middle there, looking at the camera. Really, really nice to see. Which I'm not sure it's a male, but it looks like a male. Right, I'll move on to the next one. This one's for you, Toby.
Yes, I actually just dived in California with Douglas, so
Oh, nice.
that was really nice. So I could. That was also the first time for me in California.
Mm,
So I met him, really, really nice guy, I have to say, and also a fantastic picture here. And I know also how, even now by now, how hard it is to get
mm,
close to these little fellows here. And this one got probably really, really interested in the camera in the dome pod, and also fantastic light in the background, really good visibility, nice light as well on the fish. So everything done really, really perfectly. And this is, I think, one of the examples what we just said before, that and like standard subject, yeah, which is really, really nice, can also be awarded because
yeah.
when it's done really perfectly, yeah. So this is just such a perfect shot that we had to award it in my eyes, and it's there because of good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. There's always room for a classic underwater photo done really well in UPY, and this is it's a great example of one. Right. Then just something amazing. How many hammerheads do you want in a photo? And I think also I like this picture because it's a slightly different view of the hammerheads. Nice diagonal composition. I like the fact that the hammerheads seem to be, because they're in relatively clear water. You've actually, unlike sort of some of the East Pacific shots, you've got more, the hammerheads more a similar distance to each other, which graphically is really really pleasing. And this is, I guess, an example of this must have just been an amazing dive,
Mhm.
and this is a great photo of an amazing dive. Technically, there's nothing like overly creative about it or any fancy technique. It's just the sort of picture we'd all love to take, and there's again room for that in UPY as well. So diving into macro now.
Yeah, also a very, very nice shot. Quite unseen as well, not completely unseen, but we don't see these images too often, and it just has this visual impact in the first moment, especially with this the second one from the left. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it seems to look at you really. Yeah, and it's just also the colors and the contrast is just absolutely amazing. So really, really nice shot, well deserved. Very nice executed, good light as well, and yeah,
Mm.
just a visual shot which hasn't been seen so many times before.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Shane kept these completely under wraps until they were awarded in UPY. Fantastic shot. And this was a picture that you were talking about earlier, how you don't have to think about just being a scuba diver. This was although Shane, of course, is a scuba diver, he took this picture, rock pooling with the camera just in super shallow water to make this picture. So, it shows there were great and amazing underwater pictures to be had from all those places.
Yeah,
This is Sage's image, just a graphically very, very beautiful macro shot. It's not the sort of subject matter that any dive guide is going to point out to you. No one puts on their wish list, I want to see some eggs on a piece of seaweed. But it
yeah.
shows that macro photography can be created from any subject matter wherever you dive. And great one from Sage's local waters in Monterey.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful shot. Can you
Sorry.
please go back
Yeah,
one time? Sorry, because I, as I wrote it in the comment, I think this immediately and now again reminds me about the window of a jewelry shop. Yeah, this could be
yeah.
hanging somewhere in the jewelry, nicely in the window display or something. Yeah, it's such a nice graphic image. Yeah, as I
Yeah.
wrote it in my comments. I'm just reading
Yeah,
it
no,
out.
and really original as well.
Yeah.
No, it's one of the
Yes, yeah,
most exciting things in UPY is seeing new talent coming along and
yeah.
creating, yeah, just fantastic images. Um, I think this was, well, I think it's your turn to talk about this one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's also this what I mean with also a little bit creativity and long exposure shots are getting more and more, I feel, as well in underwater photography. And this is a very good example and a very good how you can actually do this long exposure. Or remind me, was it a long exposure or a double exposure? I'm not sure
I
anymore.
think this one is a long exposure with a
Okay.
swirl. And I think what I like about this one, this is, you know, our two of our biggest categories in UPY, we're just talking about today, are wide angle and macro. And one of the challenges is with lenses like the EMWL, which is the wide angle macro lens, is which category do you put it in.
Yeah.
And this is an example showing that you definitely can do well in macro, because our macro category in UPY is defined as macro and close up. You can do well with these wide angle macro shots within that category. Right. Um, this picture is a little bit like, I would say, a little bit similar to Martin's cave shot before, where it's relatively ordinary subject matter transformed by, amazing lighting. It's just a decorated crab with a few polyps on its head, but the way the light just shaves across the top of its head. We do have a lot of entries from Japan in UPY, and it's something that we're really happy to see and embrace that photography. I think the Japanese photographers often have quite a different photographic aesthetic and style, and it does very well in UPY. We've had a lot of seen a lot of success for photographers from lots and lots of countries, of course, but you don't necessarily see the Japanese photographers entering many other competitions, and it's something that we're really proud of in UPY to have such a diverse international mix of photographers and styles coming together. and I'm very happy that we find the ability to, we were able to award those pictures.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's
Oh, sorry.
yeah. No, it's also a very good example of that a picture not don't always need to be bright, but it needs to be lit, and with very careful, with just a little bit of light is sometimes enough to create a stunning atmosphere
Mm,
for an image.
yeah, absolutely. The final picture I wanted to talk about was in the Rex category. And I think this also dovetails quite nicely with what I said at the start about AI images. We've always allowed processing in underwater photography in UPY, and we've celebrated, including with a category winner last year, photogrammetry, which is obviously a very extreme form of processing of underwater imagery. Um, but I think that that's part of what we want to celebrate with UPY is all the boundaries that are being pushed back. Um, and I think it's last year was the first time we've ever had a photogrammetry image be a category winner. And I think it was really exciting for us, and the story behind Brett's shot here. This was a previously undiscovered plane. It was ridiculously deep, if I remember. Yeah, 230 feet. I can read there. And they found it with a sonar, went down to investigate it, and this is the image they brought back, and that's just such a great wreck photography story.
Mm.
And I think that's something that I really appreciate in UPY is just the diversity of images that are entered and images that are awarded. And we'll always keep an open mind to anyone who's trying to break new ground in underwater photography, and hopefully be able to include those pictures in the UPY winners.
Exactly, yeah. So usually I would say I wouldn't blind myself with the effort you put into a picture. So it doesn't matter usually if you having a shot which is very lucky, which you take in a split second, or maybe preparing a picture like this for days or for weeks or for months. But I think it should be the same usually. But I think in this terms or in this time we really made an exception, which was really good because so much effort went into creating an image which you usually don't see in this way otherwise. Yeah, so I think I'm very happy with the decision that we took and awarding this image actually for the best Rex. It's maybe a bit similar with the like the shot which I won in 2018
Yeah.
with the panoramic of the sizzle gorm. It's also a little bit more effort of a standard subject, yeah, but it was also rewarded. So I think I feel it's a little bit the same here.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say to that is, first of all, we didn't know the backstory of this when judging. So for us, it was just a picture. We didn't know it was an undiscovered wreck when judging. We just thought it was visually very interesting. I would say with your picture from a few years ago, Tobias, one of the things that I loved about that image is that it was creative, but it was also the whole image was graphically very strong and eye catching. So
Mm.
it was a technically a great accomplishment. It was visually interesting to look at, but it also worked as a whole, which is why it was
Mm.
such a special image. Um, and hopefully, we'll be getting lots of those special images coming into UPY in this current year. So, thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you in January.
Me
And I
too.
hope to anyone who's watching this has just helped you get a little bit under the skin of the judges and understand a little bit about what we're hoping to award this year in UPY. So thanks again, Toby.
Yes, you're welcome. And to everybody, Merry Christmas and have a good new year.
Yeah, yeah. See all the pictures in the new year. Bye.
I'm looking forward. Bye.